Hello and welcome to round 6 of Grand Prix Brussels. We get a chance to see the 6th ranked player in the world, that being Martin User, Pro Tour finalist from just a week ago, up against Johnny Ildefonso. Now, User, I asked him about what deck he wanted to play for this tournament. He said, you know me, Tim, I've only got one speed. He's back on red-black aggro. He does like this deck quite a bit. For now, he's just leading off with Mountains, and without any early plays against this blue-white control deck of Ildefonso, that could prove a little bit problematic.
Yeah, he's been on this deck since, I think, GP Birmingham?
Yeah, since very, very early in the iterations of the deck. He gets to just look on as Search for Azcanta comes down for the blue-white control deck on the other side of the battlefield. Both these players undefeated with their respective lists, and both of these lists relatively well-known within the format. The first play from User being a Chain Whirler on turn 3. The damage it's dealing only dealt to Ildefonso here. No creatures just yet.
I don't think he will see a lot of creatures, because it's not exactly the...
A lot of information being revealed here on turn 4 as the Search for Azcanta puts a copy of Approach to the Second Sun into Ildefonso's graveyard. Not all these blue-white control decks using the same win condition, but Approach to the Second Sun, now something for Martin User to think about and potentially play around for the rest of this match. Uncrop Crasher. Plenty of attackers here, and no double white available to Ildefonso just yet, so Settle the Wreckage, not something to be concerned with.
Yeah, the Crasher was not in the original black-red deck, but since it's pretty good against slower decks and against Turbofog, it puts the clock a little one notch faster.
Yeah, there was a little bit of kind of a decision to be made as to in terms of which 3 drops were going to be the best. Goblin Chain Whirler, relatively ubiquitous. Uncrop Crasher versus Pianola, though, that's slightly more complicated decision to make.
Yeah, the art of this card is very much like the old cards. The very first...
yeah.
Kind of blurry, you don't really know what's going on.
Well, he's running towards you so fast that of course it's a blur. It just makes sense. But Essence Scatter enough to mean that it's not running towards Ildefonso. So just the 3 points coming through from Goblin Chain Whirler there. 2016 for Martin User just yet. And Field of Ruin destroyed his Dragon Skull Summit. He went for a basic mountain off there, more keen on making sure that he's got access to triple red than still having that black mana.
Not having black mana in game 1 is not too much of a big deal against blue white.
Yeah, looks like there was lands aplenty anyway for User here, and Chandra Torch of Defiance does come down here for User. Getting the Planeswalker in, ticking up, pretty helpful, and immediately generating mana to be able to cast Karizev.
Yeah, the black mana only used for unlicensed disintegration and Scrappy Scrounger.
Yeah, this is not really the matchup for that. I mean, the Scrounger...
Scrounger, yeah.
Archer Varazka coming down for Johnny Ildefonso. We saw that doing good work for Greg Orange, the Citrus Assassin, Pro Tour winner in the blue-white control list that he was playing in Standard as part of his team's victory there. Team Hot Sauce Games just last weekend, picking up the trophies against the likes of Martin User. This is a matchup that Martin User had in the Pro Tour finals. Didn't go too well for him there. We'll see whether or not he's able to turn things around here against a blue-white control opponent who's already 5-0, so clearly has a good grasp on how to make this deck work for him. Here's the Settle the Wreckage.
So you played in response to the monkey, or...?
Looks like there's three lands being fetched here by User.
Yeah, the option here was to play Settle the Wreckage before the monkey appeared.
So one way around, you let your opponent have an additional land. The other way around,
you take 2 damage. Yeah.
Deal 2 damage to you. Yeah. Looks like Ildefonso decided that he prefers Martin User to be really flooded rather than just a little bit flooded. And Chandra allowing a cast of a Scrap Heat Scrounger.
I mean, the land might be relevant. The 2 damage, though, might be a lot more relevant.
Well, Approach the Second Sun, getting cast here by Ildefonso. So he gains a whole bunch of life, back up to 20, and gets to put that Approach the Second Sun back in his deck. If he gets to cast a second one, he will win this game. 20 damage is the target that Martin User needs to achieve. He's done it before. Let's see if he can do it again.
If Chandra ultimates, then the 20 damage is...
It's a trivial matter at that point.
Yep.
As things stand, though, he's going to have to string a little bit more in than just this Scrap Heap Scrounger on the battlefield if he wants to do 20 points of damage in a relatively short space of time.
Well, it doesn't look like Diony has a lot going on. I think he has a Seal Away and a Settle the Wreckage in hand, so nothing to really deal with the Chandra.
Well, Glorybringer, amongst the various abilities, is simply a Flying Hasty Dragon, hitting in for 7 damage here. And
Diony will deal with the board, not with Chandra.
yeah, Chandra on her own, though, a big old problem because that ultimate ability, we refer to it as ultimate for a reason.
Ooh.
Commit to Memory, though, a lovely pickup for Ildefonso, right on time.
And that should be good enough here, I think.
Yeah, commit Chandra. You've got answers to much of the rest of what's on the battlefield. This suddenly looking a lot better for blue-white control than it was mere moments ago.
So if he commits the Chandra, he has enough mana to activate his Escanta, and the second sun, Approach of the Second Sun, is the 5th card from the top. So he will draw it in his next draw step.
Wow. So all it took was that one pickup of commits so that he was going to be able to be safe from the big old Planeswalker here. And I guess that there could still be a Glorybringer coming from user.
Yep. He still has Settle the Wreckage in hand, so he might just settle if Martin offers lethal. I'll just take the 7 damage, go down to 4, and since he doesn't have any creature to be disintegrated, he's pretty safe at 4 life.
Yeah, you start to have a very thin set of lines where Martin can still deal damage, where he sort of casts Cut on his own guys so that he can cast Ribbons afterwards. So as things stand here, this is an attack for 8.
So now he's thinking, do I want to take the damage or do I want to settle here? Is there a way Martin deals more damage next turn?
I mean, 3 points of additional damage does seem very achievable.
Yeah, with Lightning Strike. Or Chandra plus Churnwiller.
So yeah, Settle the Wreckage here, pretty safe.
Or baiting the Bomat here. Oh, you can take your card, but...
Settle the Wreckage, a gigantic addition to white control decks in this standard format. Not so much a Path to Exile as a full motorway.
I think Martin was checking if he had to draw to search for lands, because he knows the next card is a Chandra.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, thanks to commit. Chandra was put second from the top. Bomat Courier has already exiled 1 card from the top of his deck.
So Johnny's presenting lethal, not the next turn, but on the following turn. So Martin has to win next turn.
No pressure here. 11 points of damage seems like a big ask to me.
Hazoret could do it. And we saw that he had 1 in hand.
Hazoret, Uncrop Crasher, Lightning Strike. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I can see it. It needs a pretty ideal set of draws, but I can see it being possible. All right. Step 1, here comes a Chain Whirler.
It Hazoret. Not quite the Citizen's Blessing yet.
It's pretty close, though, and being able to do it off just lands, no mean feat.
So how much damage does Martin does Martin have now? He has 2 from Chandra, but that would have been 2 from Hazoret either way.
Yep.
How many damage can he throw with Hazoret? 6. I think he's 1 damage short.
Yeah, this is looking really close.
I think he might be 1 damage short. I think Johnny only has 1 seal away in hand to deal with an attacking as Hazaret. Yeah, I don't think Chandra is making a difference here. It's 4 mana instead of 3 mana to deal 2, so it's just about the same thing. So Hazaret's going to throw 2 cards, putting Diony down to 4, and then attacking with Churnwheeler down to 1.
Oh.
And that's going to be just 1 damage too short.
We have seen just a ton of damage thrown around by Martin User here. So Martin,
2 more. Yeah, that's not enough. It's gonna be exactly like we
not
drew
lethal.
Exactly not lethal. Yeah. Yep. Good. Take and down to 1.
Meanwhile, the play that we drew up last turn of being able to
Skenta the Second Sun, which is this 4th card from the top.
Hey, look what it is.
The Second Sun has risen.
There's been a lot of suns rising over the history of Magic. Between looking at the various 5th suns, Dawn, and so on in Mirrodin, the sun is an important.
We've seen the green one
Green
more
Sun
often.
Zenith.
Yeah,
yes.
we've seen the green one, but the Zenith is not exactly rising. Like, it's already there.
Yeah,
It's been there. It's just in the middle now. So
yes. But the green sun was the extra one, right? In the story
extra one. Oh yeah. Was it the white one? Or maybe
I can't recall it. Story lore guys in the chat can figure that one out for us. Meanwhile, these guys are going to have to figure out their sideboards. Martin User a game down here after game 1. Blue-white control able to put it away. And it may be flashbacks to last weekend a little bit as User goes to his sideboard here. That one was best of 5. This one just best of 3. And these players currently 5-0, looking to keep that going for as long as they possibly can.
I think three games it's actually a better odds for Martin to actually win that match. Before board, the matchup is a little harder.
So I guess that after sideboarding, what is it that Martin gains that changes that?
Well, he loses the disintegrations, which is a big deal. And in a best of 5 match, then you keep that for 2 games, so you have to win the 3 sideboarded games in a row.
Yeah, I mean, we saw there Martin User did have to discard an unlicensed disintegration to Hazaret, and there certainly are other cards that could be in his deck post-sideboard that are a little bit more impactful.
Like Duress.
For a kickoff, yeah.
Like Doomfall.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of discard available to these red-black lists. I guess that one of the big differentiators between the people that have been trying to build mono-red, which is a little bit quicker, and these red-black lists that, especially after sideboard, can have a lot more disruption.
And have Scrounger to bring back. But as we've seen, the first game is usually a little tough.
I mean, if it weren't for the extra life gained by Ildefonso from the first copy of Approach the Second Sun he cast, like, Martin User did deal a lot of damage that game. It's just unfortunately...
Yeah, also he didn't have a turn 2 play, turn 1 or turn 2 play.
Yes. That's something that, if you're playing mono red and you don't have a turn 1 or 2 play, then what's going on, really?
But like, your turn 2 play could also be a Braid.
Yes.
In other matchups, so when you design your deck, you see, turn 2 have Karizev, Heart of Kirin, a Braid.
Yep.
And if you can't play your Braids, and you only have a Braid, then you have a turn 2 blank.
Looks like these players pretty happy with how their sideboarding has gone, by and large. Just doing a couple of last checks here as they shuffle up. If you're blue-white control, how much are you looking to change things going into game 2?
It really depends what they have in the sideboard. Maybe they want to have more creatures. Maybe they want to have Lyra in. But that's the tricky part as well, because for the red-black player, do you take out all your disintegrations because, your white-blue opponent might not have any creature? And then if they board in Lyra, do you only rely on Chandra and Churnwheeler to take it out?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that for User, the fact that he saw Approach of the Second Sun in Game 1 might inform some of his thinking about that exact decision, because there are lots of blue-white control lists that they're kind of winning with some combination of Teferi and Torrential Gearhulk. The fact that we've seen Game 1, Approach of the Second Sun, suggests to me that Ildefonso here, he might not be working on quite the same axis in terms of winning. Lyra doesn't get quite as exciting when you've already got a win condition that doesn't really care about life totals. But we shall see. These players have finished their shuffling. They're just shuffling each other's decks now before we get to kick off our Game 2.
Well, you kind of care about your life total if you want to survive.
I mean, sure. All right, 7 cards. Hopefully no mulligans here from either player. It'd be good to get a brisk start on this game. Martin User on the play. Mountain go. So on the other side of things, our first actual play of the game here, we do have a turn 2 drop from Martin User, that being a Heart of Kiran. And this potentially opens up a lot of damage coming through, but for the likes of a Seal Away on turn 3. Ether Hub coming down. Scrap Heap Scrounger immediately getting hit with an Essence Scatter. The 3 power on the Scrounger, of course, meaning it could crew that Heart of Kiran quite happily. And Monument's Genius, the play for turn 3 from Ildefonso. The Monument's pretty decent. Heart of Kiran does get a hit in here thanks to that Uncrop Crasher. The Crasher, while it has haste itself, not quite as good at attacking as the vehicle. And Seal Away just being used on that 3-2.
Is that a Gideon's Reproach in Ildefonso's hand?
I believe it might be. Gideon's Reproach, kind of an interesting one in this format. It's got some nice applications. For now, though, it's just being used quite simply to deal with Heart of Kiran.
Let's see. How is it timely? Is it timely? What was the
Timely Intervention?
What's the card that did the exact same thing but with 3 damage?
Oh, it's been a little while.
And timely? No, I forgot the name of that card.
It's amazing how quickly these things vanish from our head once they're no longer in standard. Seal Away, though, that's another bit of instant speed interaction for Ildefonso. He's going 1 for 1 on a lot of what User has going on, but User on the play has been able to get in some early damage and now has a Rekindling Phoenix. This one gets cast out. Look at all these enchantments dealing with successively each and every creature that Martin User gets into play here. And various of these creatures, the fact that they're being exiled, a real pain for him, because Rekindling Phoenix, Scrap Heap Scrounger, as these cards get sent to exile rather than the graveyard, it means that all of that extra text that they have going on for them, it just doesn't do anything.
And Black-Red does not have any real way to with enchantments.
Yeah, since the very history of the game, there's been incredibly few ways for Black-Red decks to deal with any kind of enchantments from the other side of things. Yet another cast out coming here from Johnny Ildefonso. He's enchantment control here. Yes, Bomat Courier is getting a hit in, but that's cold comfort for Martin User, who he's been spending a lot of resources to achieve a Lava Axe's worth of damage here.
So Ildefonso on 15, facing a lone Bomat Courier, not where you want to be in Black-Red.
I mean, I guess the one comfort that Martin User has right now is the fact that Ildefonso, he's been on 4 lands for a couple of turns here. He's missing land drops, and missing land drops is definitely not where you want to be if you're control. For User here, 4 land, that's plenty. On the other side of things, there is a Lyra Dawnbringer in hand for Ildefonso, and that's just got to sit there. Likewise, there's no double white, so Settle the Wreckage has not yet been something that User has had to worry about.
Yeah, Bomat Courier is going to slowly grow into the threat to be dealt with. Because now it's not really threatening anything. But in a couple turns, if it sticks around, that might be a problem.
Yeah, after a few attacks, it could be looking a lot like Christmas, as the little artifact, the construct delivering letters, might have a full mailbag. Commit here, sticking Pia Nalar back on top of Martin User's deck in response to a duress here. It's not exciting, but if you're going to lose it anyway, you might as well, because let's have a look at the rest of the hand. 2 Angels of Intervention, 1 Lyra Dawnbringer.
Oh, wow.
Settle the Wreckage going away.
So if you were thinking about keeping your disintegrations, well, now you know that you probably should keep them.
Yeah, free license to disintegrate things, assuming that we ever hit 5 mana, but it might be that we just never get there here. Martin User, for now, he's got the run of things, able to get damage in pretty freely. Casts a Goblin Chainwhirler, knowing that it's not going to get any better than simply getting the 3/3 on the battlefield, and this attack means that, yes, that Bomat Courier is getting a little bit scarier. Yes, the life total is going down for Diony Ildefonso. 12 to work with now. The next attack will be threatening 5 damage. It really does need to be a Plains. I mean, a 5th land, nice, but unfortunately not nice enough in the face of everything that Martin User has going on here. And you can't really afford to... I mean, do you crack Memorial to Genius given that you just need your 5th land to be a Plains and give yourself a chance of finding a 5th land?
I think it's 5 mana to sacrifice the Memorial. See, the card I was looking for was Impeccable Timing. So Gideon's Reproach is a more impeccabler timing.
The most impeccablest.
Yes.
Okay, Glacial Fortress. Is it impeccably timed? We will find out if it's going to be enough to keep Diony Ildefonso in this game.
Well, Bomat. Probably Bomat is going to... Oh, no Bomat.
I guess that PNLR could always have made it so that the Angel couldn't block.
He couldn't block and he would be dead.
Quite a few live draws here for Martin User.
Plus the 4 cards in their Bomat after the attack step.
Yeah, a lot of different potential ways for Martin User to just simply win this game right here, right now. The fact that he's not windmill slammed the likes of Glorybringer onto the battlefield suggests to me that it's not going to be quite so easy. And turning everyone sideways, that was always going to be a good plan.
Yeah, he's probably going to block the... Chainwhirler?
If you block the Chainwhirler, then you open yourselves up to another Chainwhirler, killing off the Angel of Sanctions.
Yeah,
another point.
Yeah, you save a lot of life. But then you can also draw Fumigate.
It's true. Fumigate is certainly an option for these control decks, and an option I kind of like after sideboarding against this matchup.
The problem is that if you don't block Goblin Chainwhirler, you take 5, you go down to 2, and the Chainwhirler will most likely almost kill you next turn. With the trigger.
And it's not just the 1 card in hand that Diony needs to worry himself with. 4 more cards under that Bomat Courier.
I think Martin is worried about Lyra. If he doesn't find an answer to Lyra next turn, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and he knows that Dawnbringer would be down this very next turn. 4 more points of damage to deal, but the lifelink on Lyra Dawnbringer just absolutely colossal.
Also pumps the other Angels.
Oh yeah, not something you see come up too terribly often, but very relevant on this board.
So yeah, if Lyra comes down, the other Angel is likely to attack. Full 4, and gain Diony for life.
Yeah, all of those Angels getting lifelink. Very hard to attack through.
Oh, is that Chandra?
I believe so.
Chandra will do a very good job at killing Angel of Sanctions.
And once Angel of Sanctions dead, of course, that means that PNLR coming back.
Yeah, that spells trouble.
Yeah, the Flame Slash ability on Chandra. 4 mana that you're paying for it, but you do get to keep a Planeswalker around, and a Planeswalker that will be pretty helpful. Okay, 6 mana, Angel of Sanctions coming back. This time round as a zombie. It's not about Chandra, it's about Chandra's mum, Pia, getting whisked away by Angel of Sanctions.
Yeah, but he's dead on board here.
Yeah.
Shendawa is going to deal 2, and the Thopters are going to deal the last 2 damage.
That'll do it. Don't believe there's any 1-mana interaction that can get Diony out of that one, and that means that with a little under 25 minutes left on the round, we're going to have a game 3 between these two guys.
I'm trying to see if there is one in the format, blue or white card that could actually gain 1 life.
Gaining a life seems more likely to me than meaningfully interacting with the creatures on the battlefield, but I mean, unsummons in the format, right?
Oh, is the exile isolate? Yes, isolate. Exile a creature that's 1 mana or less is an instant.
I think it's exactly 1 mana. I
Exactly
think
one?
that would have been the trouble. Yeah, because there wasn't anything that was exactly 1 mana on that
No,
battlefield.
Thopter is 0, so there was nothing.
Certainly not much, and certainly not much that one would expect to find in a blue-white control
It's
deck.
the blue spell that gives a creature -1, -0. Is it?
I think that
Probably.
is unsummon in the format right now. I think it might be.
What about? How about? Yeah, there's a card. I found a card. It's a blue enchantment.
A blue enchantment?
Yeah. Yes, the pirate one.
Oh, yes. Sea legs?
Yeah.
That'll do it.
No, isn't it -2, -0?
Yep.
Is it instant? I think it's instant. I
No.
think
It's amazing the things that we
yeah.
do to
Yeah, I think that was an out.
yeah.
Yeah, sea legs on the Thopter.
Yeah, we're looking at a pretty narrow application.
Oh, that's actually pretty good. I think it's not even that bad.
I mean, in that exact circumstance, sure, but like, given that once you get up to 2 mana, you can start giving things -4 power.
Or
with your
just
enchantments.
exile them.
Yeah. There's a lot of options available to these blue-white control decks.
I mean, there were a lot of cards that would not have saved him.
Yeah.
And Sea Legs would have won. Well, not won, but actually could have won. Because then he plays Lyra, and he's out of trouble.
We've broken the format. All it needed
Was a Sea Legs.
one set of sea legs.
Set of Sea Legs.
We can see there where the sea legs live. It's definitely not that dude who's looking over the side of the ship there.
He's not a pirate. This guy's not a pirate.
No.
He's what is he?
You either find your feet or lose your lunch. All right, so Martin User picks up game 2. Game 3, he's going to be on the draw. Obviously, that makes life a little bit trickier. But you said that we think that things get a little bit better for Chainwhirler after sideboarding.
Well, now it's tricky because he knows Johnny has creatures in his deck. So do you bring in the Disintegrations back? They cost a lot. They cost 5 and
I mean, there's
6 to bring back.
There's conversations about things like Fight with Fire after sideboarding when you know that you're going to have to play against a 5/5 Angel. It's not an efficient card in general, but for these red decks. But when you're facing down a 5/5 flying first strike lifelinker, almost anything else just won't cut the mustard.
Is Martin running Banefires?
It's a good question. Let's see if we can
Because
find out.
against Settle the Wreckage and Flyers.
There are no Banefires. He's going to have to do this the old-fashioned way if he wants to get through this. I think that, to be honest, if Lyra Dawnbringer comes down, he's probably in quite a lot of trouble. It might just be a matter of getting that damage through before that becomes a factor.
Now he has the 4th Chandra. So Chandra plus Chainwhirler could just do it.
All right, but things are kicking off here. Both players starting off with a tapped cycling land. Glacial Fortress coming along on turn 2 for Ildefonso. And unsurprisingly, it's User with the first Spellbind cast of the game in a Heart of Kieran. Essence Scatter will not stop that one, though Gideon's Reproach that's been picked up will do rather nicely.
The more impeccable timing.
The most impeccable.
Most impeccable timing.
User, the 6 next to his name indicating that he's the 6th ranked player in the world right now. The 5 next to his deck type indicating that he's won 5 matches so far out of 5. Goblin Chainwhirler coming down, and that meeting an Essence Scatter from Ildefonso, saving 4 points of damage immediately and potentially quite a bit more going forward.
He knows a bad guy when he sees one. That's...
All right, Scrap Heap Scrounger. That one looks like it might resolve. Already we can see the small difference of just having double white available, meaning that Settle the Wreckage could come down now if Ildefonso really wanted to stay safe. As things stand, he kind of likes the notion of Glimmer of Genius, and I think I agree with him. Scries 2, and then he'll get to draw once that's complete, also generating a couple points of energy here.
Yeah, you don't want to play Settle here.
Yeah.
No, you want to keep it for later.
Bide your time. Try and get a 2, 3, 4 for 1.
Well, not really, but...
I'll take it, exchanging creatures for lands.
Well, it could have been very relevant in game 1. Martin was only one land away from winning.
And
2 lands away from winning.
And that was one of the interesting things about when Fight with Fire was in sideboards for these red-black lists, is that against Settle the Wreckage decks, you could reasonably hit a point where you could kick them. And at that point, Fight with Fire gets very scary. Seal Away, though, deals with that Scrap Heap Scrounger before it can be too problematic.
Or dead.
Yeah.
If Martin decides to kill it in response with I don't know what exactly, but if he does, then it's not exiled.
Rekindling Phoenix coming along. That jumped in Mum's car briefly, and at that point it soon thereafter got sealed away. So right now the life total is not moving around too much, not just because there are no creatures in play, but also because we've just got a small technical hitch that we're just looking to fix for you.
And Johnny's at 16.
He is, yes. But right now, that life total unlikely to go much below 16 unless user can string something together, because these seal aways are doing good work for Ildefonso. Martin user now with a Sorcerer's Spyglass. You can see why he's thinking for a little bit, wants to figure out what to potentially name with it.
Is it going to be Teferi?
Seems like a pretty safe choice.
Mm-hmm.
The big Planeswalker doing not a whole lot in the face of a Sorcerer's Spyglass once it's down. And also now Martin user knows proof positive that there will be a Settle the Wreckage in the future. That means that he can adjust the way he attacks just a little bit so that he doesn't get quite as blown out by the big removal spell.
Oh, no, it's a Memorial?
Yeah, names a Memorial to Genius. That means that there's not going to be too much extra card drawing on the other side of things. Meanwhile, Bomat Courier sets up some card drawing for the future. And another copy of Heart of Kieran coming along. Blink of an eye to bounce Sorcerer's Spyglass. Not a play you see every day, but it does mean that this Memorial of Genius has potential, Memorial to Genius, should I say, has potential to actually kick in here.
And this card's so creepy.
Yes.
Oh, this card's so creepy.
It's one of those things that when I think back to sort of Alpha, there were lots of interesting moments of how does an artist interpret what is a relatively esoteric concept. Blink of an eye, a kind of hauntingly literal interpretation of what's going on here. The eyes have it. Chandra, Torch of Defiance coming down now for Martin user, deciding not to just go with replaying that Sorcerer's Spyglass. And Dione having a little think here before ultimately letting it resolve.
Yes, that's the strength of red-black, because the threats come from everywhere. So you need the seal aways for the Scroungers, for the Phoenix, and then you have to deal with Chandra, but you can't have all the counter spells. So it becomes tough after board for blue-white.
Chandra ticks up. Sorcerer's Spyglass again getting cast, and the new card that was drawn, that looks like a glimpse of genius to me. Glimmer of Genius, sorry.
Glimmer 2 Genius?
Why not?
Glimmer's 4 Genius.
So Dione Ildefonso playing Genius Control. We'll find out how much of a genius depending on the result of this match. Bomat Courier just chipping in for a little bit more damage there. So a Glimmer finding a cast out.
It's good for Chandra or Spyglass.
Yeah, nice to have the option there. With Flash, of course. No pressure to throw that one down too terribly early.
No, I can recognize that card. Oh, is it an island? Okay. With 4 mana untapped, that means he can efficiently cast his Settle the Wreckage.
Though right now, that Settle the Wreckage, he's not going to be removing too many creatures here.
But taking care of the Bomat is actually pretty big deal here. Yep. He doesn't want Martin to refill his hand. Yep, it's only for 2.
Yeah, trade in an unlicensed disintegration that doesn't currently have any targets for 2 unknown cards from the top of the deck.
And 1 card being exiled for no value here.
Yep.
No way to bring it back, I think.
Looks like the draws for user off that Bomat Courier weren't especially exciting, but you can't win them all apparently. Glorybringer though, that's a nice one. Let's find out whether or not it's first going to resolve and second going to actually connect here. It jumps in a car and sends the Heart of Kiran across. Now, why would you crew the Heart of Kiran rather than attacking with just the dragon there, Raf?
I'm not sure.
It feels like it's a relatively slim line, I guess. Maybe if you're worried about your creature being
Spyglass.
removed.
Or Spyglass. It's pretty good. If, for example, Johnny had another Settle the Wreckage or any way to deal with the attacking creature, then the Spyglass would do nothing.
All right, Bomat Courier and Glorybringer now coming in. And Dione Ildefonso finds himself on a pretty quick clock here. 5 points of power on the table, 5 points of life that he's working with. It's going to have to be something good that he's got left in that hand. Otherwise, Martin User will advance to 6-0, the perfect record to make sure that he's in day 2 and indeed potentially on top of the pile by the time that we start things on Sunday.
Ooh.
Torrential Gearhulk coming down, and that enables a big Settle the Wreckage. Pretty much the perfect card for him to have there.
Yeah. Deal with all the creatures, all the 1 creature. And have a 5/6 now to block the Scrounger.
First 15, they felt pretty easy. This last 5, though, Dione Ildefonso will be working very hard to defend.
How good would the disintegration be right now?
Pretty good, pretty good.
The second card exiled for no value here from the Bomat. Let's sort this out a little bit. All the exiled. Ooh. That's also a really good draw.
Yeah, on-crop Crasher means that Torrential Gearhulk, it's not going to get to do a whole lot of blocking here. Again, we're in a situation where Dione Ildefonso needs a great card in hand if he's going to stay alive.
Oh, and some more business here.
So Chandra means that the on-crop Crasher on its own will be enough to be lethal. Also gets to
Everything is lethal
crew
here.
his... Oh no, sorry, his Heart of Kiran is Spyglassed. A pair of lethal creatures. Now Martin User, he's hesitating here. What is he trying to play around?
I think Settle the Wreckage or Torrential Gearhulk. These are the only 2 cards that are relevant here.
Now, if it's Torrential Gearhulk, you want to be attacking with both. If it's Settle the Wreckage, you want to be attacking with 1. He attacks with both. It turns out that Johnny has neither. That's the handshake. And that is the 6th win for Martin User. He had his buys, but he's been able to convert them into maintaining his perfect finish here. We will be seeing him on day 2. A Pro Tour finalist playing the exact same deck, more or less, as far as we can tell, that he played at the Pro Tour. No massive surprises to see him doing well, but 6-0, that was a pretty tricky matchup for him in spots there.
Yeah, he was in a bad shape in game 1. And he got the little extra thing that you need to win. But 2 games in a row after board, when your opponent is a little stalling on lands.
Yeah, I mean, red decks, pretty much for the whole history of the game, they've punished people stumbling on their draws. And in game 2, that's all it took was not quite finding the land that he needed. Martin User advances 6-0. Good for him. We will have more magic for you soon enough, though. Don't go anywhere. More magic from round 6 after these messages. Hello and welcome back to coverage of Grand Prix Brussels. I'm Tim Willoughby. This is Raphael Levy. We've already had our main match, but that does not mean to say that we're not going to get a little bit more magic for you. Let's head back down to our feature match area now. We're going to get to see just a little bit of time walk magic. We've heard that we've got a deck that we've somehow not managed to have in the feature match area thus far this weekend. Still quite a potent deck in the format, and that is mono green, or largely mono green. Let's get a chance to see. It's Steven van Doesburg on the right of our screen. He's on mono green. He's up against Ivan Floch. Now, the mono green deck, it definitely has a few weak matchups in this field. However, it's up against Floch, who, somewhat unsurprisingly, is playing control. That one ought to be all right for the green deck, right?
Yeah, Weinmeier is a fine addition to the screen deck from M19. And it's if you don't counter it, then you're in trouble when you're playing control.
Yeah, I mean, hexproof, it's one of those things that, depending on which side of the table you're sat, it can either feel like your best friend or your worst enemy. As things stand, Floch on control, he will have to hope that he's got a timely essence scatter or similar for it. Esper has a few more ways of interacting with the board, but you know what? Hexproof says no to pretty much all of that. Lamboir Elves, the first play from Van Doesburg, and that means that potentially he could have some big threats right from turn 2.
Still Leaf Champion being the best one of them.
Still Leaf Champion on turn 2. It's just a gigantic monster for the stage of the game that you're in, and that's exactly what Van Doesburg goes for. There's the big 5-4. Can't be blocked by small creatures. Not too many creatures at all for Ivan Floch, it must be said. His search for Azcanta, immediately putting Glimmer of Genius in the graveyard before he sees whether or not there's anything that he can do about the big old creatures on the other side of the battlefield.
That's a huge threat that needs to be answered pretty quickly. It's 14 o'clock.
The first 5 damage, that's been all right. Steven van Doesburg able to achieve that relatively easily here. Doesn't look like he's got another land to work with, though, and that will mean that all of the power of that Lamboir Elves acceleration, he's just going to be at parity for mana going forward if that's the case. Heart of Kieran alongside Lamboir Elves. Another creature would have been lovely, but has to just pass it back.
Oh, wow.
Maybe he's holding up a Blossoming Defense here just to keep something alive.
Yeah, he didn't want to play his Rampager here for 1 energy, just to bluff the defense if he doesn't have it, or just to show that he might have it. It's good enough. It's better than to have 1 energy.
Keeping Ivan Floch honest here. Greenbelt Rampager interacting quite nicely with Heart of Kieran because you can play it. It's in play for just long enough to get behind the wheel of Heart of Kieran, even if it is then later going to get bounced, thanks to not being enough energy in play. Ivan Floch, he's got something to say potentially before the Rampager even makes it to the battlefield if he has some sort of removal spell.
Well, Ivan's holding Forsake the Worldly to deal with the Heart of Kieran.
Forsake the Worldly. Straightforward removal spell for an artifact or enchantment.
Yeah, he's doing it in response to the crew ability, so that if Steven had a Blossoming Defense, he would need to tap a Steel Leaf Champion to crew it again, make it a creature, and then give it hexproof, because he can't play the Blossoming Defense on an artifact.
And Steven deciding that he'd rather just do 5 damage the old-fashioned way.
Or decide that he doesn't have the choice because he doesn't have the defense.
Yeah. Either of those options, perfectly reasonable. And effectively casting that Greenbelt Rampager 2 more times in order to finally get the 3-4 onto the battlefield. Ivan Floch, he's at 10 life. He's facing down 9 power on the battlefield. If there is a Blossoming Defense, this could be a very quick game 1 indeed.
I think he would have played it on the heart. And Ivan does not have a second white land untapped, so it can't even bluff the Silder Wreckage. It's not usually played in the main deck of Esper, but if, you know, he wanted to show that he might have one, well, he can't play it, so.
So if you're Steven van Doesburg here, you smell blood in the water. Attacks coming in.
He did draw the Blossoming Defense. And he's wise not to play it.
Now explain why that is for some of the newer players out there. Why when you've got the kill in hand, you might not go for it.
Because the only way Ivan can get back in this game is to like try to kill one of your creatures. And if you play your defense before damage, and that creature dies, then you deal like 5 less damage this turn. And if Ivan kills the other creature, then you're pretty much dead. So the only card that would actually win the game for Ivan here is like Wrath, but I don't think he plays Wrath. Or Gear Hulk. But then if he plays a Gear Hulk, you can defend the other creature with a defense. Or just kill Ivan with defense.
Yeah, something like a Vraska's Contempt on Steel Leaf Champion on face of things looks like it might be good enough, gaining a couple of life and so on, but Blossoming Defense will say no to that.
And if Ivan taps out, all 3 creatures on Steven's side are lethal. Actually, I don't know why he didn't attack with the elf. Is there a reason why you don't want to attack with the elf?
I'm not quite sure on that one. I mean,
what do you have at 4 mana?
Okay, so Fatal Push on Greenbelt Rampager. That's one fewer creature to worry about.
I think that resolves. You don't need to save your Rampager here. You still have 2 lethal creatures. Well, that might do enough. That might do it anyway. Because now Ivan has Teferi, but Teferi does not do anything. Can deal with the champion, but then he would still have to deal with the Rampager and the elf. Oh, but he has the Vraska's Contempt. Does that work? No. If he Vraska's Contempt the champion, then he still takes 4 and dies.
There must be something else here.
Oh, we back to the 1 blue or white mana.
Sea Legs.
Sea Legs. Oh, actually what was the name of the card? Isolate? No. Isolate?
Isolate would work in this instance.
Is it instant? Is Isolate instant?
It's a great question. Literally nobody knows the answer.
Well,
we're going to be going on to game 2.
As in nobody, neither you or I know the answer. I'm pretty sure some people do.
I'll let the chat figure that one out. In the meantime, we're going to go on to our game 2 here. Thanks to the wonders of Time Walk Magic, we were able to skip through all that shuffling, bring you right back on into the action. And Vinemare, we talked about it before game 1 being an important card potentially for this Steel Leaf Stompy deck, is in hand for Steven Van Doesburg here. No turn 1 Lamorels, and that means that the start not nearly as explosive as in game 1, and a Fatal Push deals with early Scrap Heap Scrounger here. Ivan Floch hitting all his land drops early doors. That's where you want to be. Meanwhile, Steven Van Doesburg, his draw really not looking anything special just yet.
Oh, wow. No 4th land on Ivan's side. Is there a 4th land on Steven's side for Vinemare?
It looks like it. Is he going to go for the Vinemare, though?
Nope.
He actually kicks things off with Ronus the Indomitable, maybe sniffing out that there must be something good sat in Ivan Floch's hand here. Disallow stops the Green God. Still no 4th land, and that really going to hurt at some point. For now, he's leaning on the counter magic that he has going on here. Vinemare, that seems like a great target for that second disallow in hand. So Van Doesburg, plenty of mana to work with. On the other side of things, yeah, the land that comes into play tapped there, obviously better than not finding a land at all, but only a little bit better because right now Ivan Floch shields getting worn down pretty well by the threats being thrown along by Steven Van Doesburg here.
So what do you want here, Nissa or a Vivian Reed?
Well, it looks like Nissa Vital Force is the choice here.
Wasn't Vivian a little better here, just to get some advantage, some card advantage? I mean, if you play Vivian and it gets countered, then you can retrieve it with Nissa next turn.
This is true.
So now we just, if Ivan has an answer to Nissa, then Nissa didn't actually do anything. Just dealt 3 damage. Well, 5 minus 2.
Yeah, kind of an expensive lightning bolt.
Yeah. But also, if Vivian had met Contempt, he would not have been able to retrieve it with Nissa. But still, he would have netted a card from Vivian. unless he missed, but that's pretty unlikely.
Yeah, Vivian, a constant source of card advantage while she can stay in play, and finds another Vine Mare.
Horsey.
We do like the horsies. The GGs may be GG for Ivan Floch here. Still digging around, and it's really tough for Ivan because he's not in a spot where he's ever had a chance where he can cast draw spells like this Glimmer of Genius without knowing that there's going to be something to punish him for doing so.
Yeah, but it's probably the biggest problem of black-blue. You need to play your lands of Esper and blue-black control. You need to play your lands every turn. If you miss, it's a big deal.
Vivian again digging, finding a Steel Leaf champion, and this meaning that there's the potential for a couple of big threats to come down this turn.
Well, if Steven was playing around the Contempt, then playing Vivian second was a good choice.
Figured it out. Vine Mare, Steel Leaf champion. I think he might, yeah, he overtapped for that one. There we go.
Oh, that's a good trick if you have a blossoming defense in hand.
It's the best kind of a trick. Cycled Hieroglyphic Illumination.
And I think he does. Oh yeah, I paid too much.
Thanks for
I
pointing
announced
it out.
Steel Leaf champion, tap 4. Oh no, I don't need to pay that much.
Yeah, there are some times that you want people to think that you've got it when you haven't got it. There are other times you absolutely want even experienced players to forget about the existence of Blossoming Defense. Vraska's Contempt there. The one thing that it could 100% definitely hit was that Planeswalker Vivian getting taken down there. No protection for her thanks to Blossoming Defense. But going to need it just to get through this Torrential Gearhulk here.
Oh, he has 2 defenses. Do you play both here?
I think so.
Well, I guess you do. You played Scrounger? Yeah. I mean, why not?
Couldn't hurt.
You committed enough now. Oh, and there's another Scrounger in the graveyard, so that guy can come back.
Yeah, a lot being asked of Ivan Floch here if he wants to win this match. Already a game down, facing down a whole host of big green creatures.
How about eating a dead god to come back into play?
Just, you've got this Scrounger, it's just picking its way through the junkyard. It's like, oh wait, what's this?
A snake god.
What is this tasty morsel I find before me? Little tough, some might say indestructible, but you know what? Good enough for me.
Tastes like chicken.
Here comes Teferi. Having to use the Planeswalker to deal with Steel Leaf Champion here. Steel Leaf Champion gets to chill out a few cards down.
Nom 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 nom. Tasty snake.
It's what's for dinner.
It's probably an Australian Scrounger.
So big swings coming through here for for Steven on Ivan Floch here.
Oh wow, everything on Ivan?
That's quite aggressive, choosing to allow Teferi to stay in play.
Okay, well, yeah, that's indeed pretty aggressive.
It does mean that all of these creatures are now lethal, though.
It's true.
It's going to be a big ask for Ivan Floch to find answers to all of them.
Oh, but then he's giving Ivan like 2 extra mana, an extra card. I don't know if that's the right choice here. I don't have. It's usually right to attack Teferi. Letting Teferi live is usually a pretty bad thing to do. But I haven't counted in that exact situation.
Yeah, the difference would be Ivan Floch being on 6.
But down 2 mana and 1 card.
Complex combinatorial math of what the various values of each of those elements might be. Glimmer of Genius, scry 2 to the bottom. Hope that what you pick up is good enough, and I believe that it's more card drawing and not a lot else, maybe a syncopate, and ultimately there's the handshake from Ivan Floch. So it's Steven van Doesburg advancing to 6-0 there, taking the first win off Ivan Floch's Esper control list, and we're going to get a chance to see the final few minutes of our third match down from our feature match area. There was things still going on our main tables just a little bit in the main event, so we are going to get a chance to see just a little bit more in terms of Time Walk Magic. Loving the amount that we can squeeze in this round. Turns out that when you don't have a Turbo Fog deck in the main match, you get a chance to get a little bit more of literally every other deck in the format. Who knew?
I don't know. This is. I don't agree with that. I like Turbo Fog. I like having it on camera.
I like Turbo Fog a lot, but you know what? I also like getting a chance to see a whole bunch of other decks.
It's true.
I'm sure that we'll have time for all of them, and indeed the others from our feature match area. Let's have a look at the last few minutes from just one more game. We got some Turbo Fog.
Here we go.
And we got it against Black-Green Constrictor here.
Oh.
The life totals pretty skewed in favor of the Turbo Fog player, and at 29-6, I feel like the biggest opponent of Max Pritch right now is more likely to be the clock than it is to be the creatures on the other side of the battlefield.
That's actually not true.
Is that a walking ballista up top?
Yeah. I think Black-Green Constrictor is one of the worst matchup for Turbo Fog, if not the worst matchup.
Wow, talk us through that one.
So basically, Turbo Fog has two very, very bad matchups. One is Mono Red Wizards or Flame of Keld, because you can't stop all the burn. And the other one is Black-Green Constrictor, because you can't beat Ballista with Constrictor. The thing is, your fogs don't actually do anything against them, because you can't get rid of Constrictor, and when they have Ballista out, you can't use your Planeswalkers, because as soon as the Ballista and they untap, your fogs are not efficient anymore. So they can attack you, you're gonna fog, but then they put 2 counters or 4 counters on their Ballistas, and they just shoot your Planeswalkers, and then you just lose because you can never protect them.
So we're on turn 1 of 5 now, and that makes this interesting. If it were that time was not a factor, then I can definitely see that this Walking Ballista, I mean, it's 4 mana to put 3 counters on it right now, which is a very efficient rate. This Walking Ballista would be able to walk away with it pretty straightforwardly. 32 damage, though, is a lot to find in 3 turns worth of attacking.
I think I'm already surprised Max actually won a game. You win a game when they don't draw their Ballista. These are the games you win. Either they don't draw Ballista or a Constrictor. Because once they have both of them, you're in very deep trouble. Because you can't play around the Gear Hulks, you can't play around anything that pumps the Ballista.
And Michael Branchevich here just double-checking the exact number of cards available in hand for Max Pritch. So we've heard it here first. If you're looking for decks that can reliably give Turbo Fog a run for its money, Black-Green Constrictor is one of them. And again, we've got all of our players in our feature match area. They're on 5-0. These are the guys who are looking to lock up their day 2 as early as possible.
He's 1 mana away to activate 3 times and add 6 scanners in the Ballista.
Yeah, that of course aided by Rishkar Pima Renegade, allowing some of those creatures to tap for mana.
He's playing around Gearhulk as well. Oh wow!
This is going to be a big old Walking Ballista.
Even 3/3. How big is it? 4/4. He's casting it as a 3/3, so it's going to be a 5/5.
Yes. So has access to 5, 8, 11 points of burn this turn. Obviously, he's not going to fire off too much burn this turn, though getting rid of Teferi definitely seems helpful. Because the interesting bit is that under normal circumstances, Branchevich here would be looking at it and saying, all right, it's turn 1 of extra turns. I'm going to get 3 turns here. Against a deck with Nexus of Fate, he is getting somewhere between 3 and 1 turn. This might be his last turn of the game, depending on exactly how Max Pritch draws from now on.
Yeah, he needs to kill the Teferi this turn, but I don't think that's a concern here. I think getting a point off a match of this terrible matchup is a very good deal for Max.
He'll just be wondering, why couldn't I have been paired up against one of these other decks in the feature match era? Like, if this is literally among his worst matchups.
So he can pay 4 and add 3 counters on another Rishkar.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good deal as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit more efficient in terms of throwing counters around.
So he puts 3 counters on both ballistas. So Rishkar is a 6 damage.
I can dig it.
How is it? Searing Flesh is 6 or 7 damage? I think it's probably 7.
It's been a while, but as things stand, this Rishkar, yeah, I like it quite a bit what it's achieving here. Sneck deck is back.
I think Searing Flesh. I think it was Mind something that dealt 6 damage, but you need to call a card. That was a Kamigawa card. You call the card, they mill until you find.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds about
Oh,
right.
you say the number of cards they have in their deck. Oh, that was a crazy card.
Look at these ballistas.
Max has a fog. Yes, he does. But Teferi's not going to survive this turn.
Now, do you just attack Max with everything on the understanding that you would rather get damage through on him if he's not got a fog?
Well, you have to kill Teferi at some point, so you might as well attack Teferi. And then you can keep the damage for Max anyway.
And I guess
you have to force the fog. Yeah.
There is a fog?
Yeah, don't bother choosing I'm fogging anyway. So now I think he has to kill the Teferi here. Because it's 1 extra card, it's 4 extra mana. That's way too much. And I think he has lethal anyway. With two Constrictors. Like Max needs to draw
Nexus of Fate into Nexus
into
of Fate
Nexus
into
of
Nexus of
Fate.
Fate, and then he's laughing.
Yeah, because I think he might be dead next turn anyway. If Michal gets another turn, I think he's dead. Because the first ballista is 6. Oh, he draws a Nexus. Wow.
Step 1 achieved.
How much damage is that if he doesn't have a fog?
Oh, it's a lot of damage, Raph.
Yeah, it's definitely lethal.
Supreme Will finds another Nexus of Fate.
Oh, wow.
This is how you escape.
This is the escape route. It's the back door.
Yep. So this is turn 2. Max Pritch set up to be able to take at least turns 3 and 4 of these 5 additional turns. And it may well be that if Mikhail gets one more turn, he's able to do this anyway. But this is a way more exciting way of it going.
Oh man, this is what we dreamt of. I never actually got to that point.
The point where you just steal all the extra turns?
Still the turns, yeah.
Because this was the deck that you played at the Pro Tour, right?
It was a deck I played at the Pro Tour, yeah. We never actually got to that point, but always finish with like 20 minutes on the clock, so.
The Pro Tour with 60-minute rounds, but equally you with quite a lot of hours practice under your belt with this deck.
That'll land. All right, so there's
land.
one more draw.
He's going to Field of Ruin first. And then Nexus of Fate.
It doesn't really matter.
I think this is Max saving time on shuffling is his intent.
Yeah. It doesn't actually matter. Oh yeah, but so there's one more draw to draw either a fog or Nexus would not actually do it because he still has a turn. Because Michal has another turn. Fog would be good.
Wouldn't one more Nexus do it? I thought this was...
No, because it's turn 4. So it's going to be turn 5 and then he's passing the turn. So Michal would still get the 5th turn.
This is turn 3.
Yeah.
He's just cast a Nexus of Fate.
It's going to be turn 4.
So he will
Right, you're right.
So a Nexus of Fate, a Fog.
You're right. because they haven't turned the die.
And there's another Nexus of Fate. Every reason for Mikhail Brankovic to feel pretty unfortunate about that, as of the 5 additional turns,
yes,
he got exactly one of them.
But you were dead. Yes, but that's what my deck does. It steals extra turns. Yes, but you are dead. I know. I understand that.
Dead in every sense but the literal.
Yes, I know.
Took all of the additional turns.
What if I draw another 6 Nexus of Fate?
Yeah.
I play all 6 and we never know.
Yeah. That one ultimately ending in a draw there. One of the more unlikely draws that I've seen in the history of the Magic the Gathering, I would say. Nexus of Fate, obviously you cast it, shuffle in, 4 copies in the deck, so it's not as if he was always drawing literally the same one.
Steal the extra turns. That's what it does.
I must admit, if I was playing with the Nexus of Fate list, I would be really tempted to have each one, even just with like a little number somewhere on it, so that I would know if I was drawing the same one again.
This one got me a point.
Maybe every time I cast it, I do a little tally mark on my Nexus of Fate, so I know which is the one that's been doing the most work for me. Anyway, as things were, that was the end of our round 6. Couple more rounds to go for you. Do not go anywhere. We'll have more Magic round 7 with Riley and Simon after these messages.